Okay, summary for Escape, Fighting for Freedom. Now, just to clarify, first off, I was right about the crate. It's a 3 range, power 0. And second, the spawning rule we were referring to is, it is within 3 squares of an airlock, but you do have to have line of sight. So my camera wife was correct in her ability to spawn there. Now, let's see, opinions. First off, this is definitely one of the fastest playing miniatures games I have ever played. It literally gets through scenarios in 30 minutes or less, and setup is moments. I mean, I almost regret not filming the setup because it only would have added an extra minute or 2 tops to the video. Now, it has some drawbacks to my mind because of that. You may not consider them drawbacks at all, but first is that I really don't feel like I have much control over things. Like, my actions are almost somewhat arbitrary at times. You know, I have so many leftover action points I can't do anything with, and there's no kind of way to convert them into anything useful, so I waste half my character's potential on any given turn. Then there's the fact that being a much lighter rule set, it's a very easy game to sit down and learn, but the dice hold a strong sway over what happens in this game. It's not completely luck dependent. I mean, there's quite a bit you can do to mitigate, but especially as the human player, since you have less movement than every monster, you lose the normal options you would have, like trying to stay out of range, and escape and evade becomes a fairly non-viable tactic. You're pretty much forced into fighting, even when fighting isn't an optimal move for you. And your fighting is unfortunately another kind of issue here, because humans can't ever respawn, and the ISC drones obviously can, and that it leads to some interesting, fairly suicidal tactics on the ISC's part, because what's the big deal? They'll just come back. Now it does achieve something fairly rare in the miniature game world, in that you really can just, randomly decide, hey, let's pull it out, set it up, play through it real quick. I mean, you could even, with adequate table space, treat this as kind of a lunch game, because you'll get through this in your, even a half-hour lunch, likely, if you're quick about it. It's, it's not even that big of a box either, about inch and a half high, so it's really unique, is what I'll call it. The light rule set is going to really turn off a lot of miniatures gamers, but it might get some people who don't care much for games with miniatures. I don't want to call it miniature gaming, but turn on some of those people who wouldn't otherwise look at a game like this. And the story in the Eden world, which I hadn't heard of prior to this, but apparently Eden's a pretty big deal in some places. I mean, you get a good 15 pages of story in the universe book, which contains the scenarios. I mean, it really takes a lot of steps to immerse you in the world. Now, kind of the problem with that is that a lot of the selling point is the miniatures, and being so unusual for a miniatures game, you really have to ask yourself if it's worth miniatures game money. Some people can absolutely love this, some not so much. It personally isn't really my sort of game, because when I'm, moving around a grid with detailed figures, I like a robust rule system behind it. I want to have less of my game determined by the dice. Not necessarily none. I do enjoy rolling dice as much as or more than the next person, but as you saw in the gameplay segment, there were quite a few turns where, an otherwise, straightforward turn just went completely to, because I rolled one after one after one, and just, a stroke of bad luck. Now, I guess you could almost consider that realistic in a way because, I mean, let's face it, in the heat of combat, you're probably not going to be performing, exactly as intended every time, but, that's debatable, I guess. At any rate, I really did find that the art and the graphic design were quite well done, very well suited to the game. The board manages to be colorful without being bright and cheery, which would absolutely destroy the atmosphere of this game. It's telling a very Matrix-like story, almost. Not quite, there's some definite, strong differences, but it has kind of that feel to it. And, if I had to mention another grievance, it would be the cards. I had to sleeve these because I, for one, just cannot bring myself to draw on my game materials. I'm sure it would probably just wipe right off, but I just, can't do it. And some of the figures are missing some of the details that, that my wife was really hoping to paint from, the box and such, but they're really quite nice by and large. I mean, they're not anything really to complain about, certainly. People wanting really super detailed figures for painting, well, they're out there. They may not be these guys, but then again, they may be these guys, depending on what you're looking for. So, yes?
Some of these guys are really, really detailed. There's just a couple of discrepancies.
So, take it from the painter there. Detail is in fact pretty good. I definitely would have liked to have seen a round tracker of some kind. I mean, having to come up with this was kind of, not my favorite. And they only included one dry erase marker, which, mild irritation. But, so really, if what you saw seemed appealing, consider checking it out. I can't really give it a yay or nay budget recommendation because honestly I'm not sure what this is going to be selling for yet. If I had to go back and do the Kickstarter again, I think I'd probably pass because I put a lot more money into this than I really feel like I'm getting out of it. But as far as retail goes, it might well be something to look at. If the prices are reasonable, consider giving it a try. If not, see if you can't find a way to give it a play first. It's really, really not bad. I wouldn't have believed it before seeing it, but they've managed beer and pretzels, tactical miniatures. So, with a great story to boot. So, consider checking it out, and until next time, have fun, get off your computer, and play some more games.